Hello, Babayaros E's disordinated word, individual and species volume. And the difference is the identity of the hyper simultaneous, per the extent we can discern. And discernment of this comes with a demonstration of how it is increasing value, generating more value. To discern this, why and how the other species bodies have two eyes, we are being shown the third hyper additional species volume that comes with group differences in individuals of that species volume, individuals of the individual species body. This is relative because the nature of debate, black pupils, this has been stated three ways: criminally foreign influenced slash hypercriminally foreign influenced, and in the opposite sequence slash simultaneous nature relative to the hyper invisible but still discernible, that which is the identity, which is why there are six names for a verb, not one. There might be seven. The gerund and the verbal are for appreciation of the parts, and there's either a present participle, past participle. This is because it is in demonstration how there are simultaneously three ways, and simultaneously five ways that the identity of the hypersimultaneous has a grouped identity of relationship to itself as your complete identity, as the value of the cell nucleus, cell body, cell wall, slash S, and as appreciation of water and its elements, and of gases and their elements. In their mixture, and or their identity of relationship to that hypersingular self. So we have a hypersingular self as a hypernative body. That is the species body. But it has been through systems as application of names A through Z. And then further as countries A through Z. It is more probable and is demonstrable. Even if criminal foreign influences that were tactical to hide, they knew they were going to convict, to theorize, let alone to convict, that in semi-ancient times, what we would now call ancient times, the sciences became criminally foreign influenced, tactically delusions raw, forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded to respond to what started hurting them criminal insidiously, with criminal insidiousness slash hyper criminal insidiousness, which had been invented to hide. It's more probably to hide, how they were going to get caught, because they realized they were going to get caught with a transnational organized crime group that was also intercultural, also knew that they had used our human differences, black pupils, whites of eyes, as black and white, semi-ancient legal identities, overt criminal enterprises and private ones. That became a hyper-criminal foreign influenced criminal enterprise together. One of the proofs of this is we have the fact that we have the fact slash S, that we have the same color eyes in different color eyes at the same time. That comes with that is a truth. That is a nature of truth. And use of it properly, not as criminal insidious nature, it comes with revelation. There's a quality and nature of debate maintained. See, the military is breached. Connecticut military has roles with people named Skidjo. People named, other ones, I don't even know all the names. People named Kerr. People named Dylan. Involved with the military, planting evidences on campuses. With foreign and domestic. Russians, American, and Ukraine, for example, Israel. They have roles with psychiatry. Also with the people at the prisons and the hospitals in Palestine, there are proofs. See, they have trade agreements. They did what our founders told us not to do. Communicated for them not to do. Our founders communicated other than they said, and that's distinct from our presidents. George Washington agreed to be our first president, so our founder, but he agreed to use our founder's plan, which is James Madison's. See, we have a quality of fact-keeping nature, a nature of debate. I believe Judge Napolitano has sources. For example, intelligence community on a mass scale. They are taught little things that they could do to affect other people's behavior, mimic them. For example, I believe that's mentioned in one of the videos I put the links to, but it's also used to leak things. See, to black pupils, how long? The suburbs were designed before our founders were born, for the torture, for the extortion, and for the slavery of fact-keeping nature and enslavement. Slavery was therefore physical. And the difference of that and how everyone went sickly distinctly was his hurt. That was effectively and is effectively used by the breaching method to measure and maintain the scientific value of itself, being demonstrated by nature itself, left out with logic and reason in the nature of it. So the nature of the debate, people want to have, or what do you know, in other words, and they want to use, they're increasingly self-valuing, where and how the lead up to the sciences have been abridged. Little kids have means to discern the abridged sciences and the communications of adults and kids and collusions, sticking fake things in databases still. Black pupils. The military has roles with Hartford Hospital, with New Britain's hospitals, hospitals interstates, putting fake things in databases of hospitals, their family members and friends, planting evidences increasingly on off people's their streets. The intelligence community uses this game with foreign bodies, where they make it look, they go back, this person did this, they make people like each other or hate each other, and they measure and maintain, left out the foreign bodies' roles with these people. Russians and Americans have been here together since before our founders were born. The beginning of what Putin was trying to say is the part they left out and changed in the campuses, because our founders lost until we finished getting the Constitution unabridged. We have to do this as fact-keeping nature. Otherwise, see, the military has roles with the agencies too, and the difference of that, the difference between the interbranch names and their family members, their neighbors, or the interbranch as the ones needing to highlight progressions. That is also haven't been used, where they have names on all sides of criminal and civil cases, and the news at the same time in the interbranch, or again, the difference of that in the intelligence, putting fake things in databases as collusions, again, with foreign bodies individually grouped in together. Uses of money as a premise. Uses of roles with groupthink and pretending to counter it. See, Donald Rumsfeld is one of the names that, honest, to an extent, is discernible. It was honestly trying to respond to groupthink. See, there's a groupthink where people want to have credit and speak for themselves as value, as if they're speaking about a job. And that's how they're making their argument for like a resume, leaving out the value of what came first, leaving out, and then they want to say, they leave things before courts. Our founders left us to demonstrate the difference between the courts, the intelligence community, like prisons tied to them, like the corrections offices. Notice the word corrections with it. Notice uses of truth. They're pretending they don't understand the nature of people. They're lying about people's physical behavior on a mass scale. This breaching method employed a certain type of victim / hyper victim needing to respond to the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and nature. As fact-keeping nature, need to needing to not respond to it exactly tactically ulterior from the way they force discerned. They need to pretend other as they were shown. I mean, this breaching method knew. It was so that precedents and statutes are still recorded self-valued being and having been employed, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, originally instilled. You can't understand American politics or history if you don't understand how Wethersfield, Connecticut was the last of 13 counter-extorted positions inside colonies. There were more than 13 colonies. There was a breaching method entrenched with slavery north and south. Rather than having that clear, rather than having that appear debatable, criminally foreign influence, self-value uses and roles of planting evidences, tricks and methods, more so than a magician and someone in collusion even further with the place housing the act. Little magic tricks are going in databases being shown to your perception each day. Many pray. So they have readings of statutes that give the benefit of the doubt to experts, and they go on and list the types of experts. We're supposed to show what is actually recorded. There's a Peruta family involved with a YouTube channel called Summary Judgment, which is distinct from Judging Freedom with Judge Napolitano. But also distinctly, but non-distinctly, opinions and opinion nature, A through Z. We could use the hyper-evidential black pupils, again, to discern. Also hyper-evidential where and how that breaching method employed black and white to mean other than they do. Where it employed those differences, all differences, to communicate tactical ulterior from what nature communicates with them. And effectively to maintain functional for the breaching method, that used to measure and maintain other communicated for nature with its demonstrations of it. Having nothing to do, for example, with prejudice, had honestly tried to, where people are honestly trying to counter it and claim it prejudice, we're supposed to hear that and understand they're speaking about a predicate acts with facts method. And or we are capable of discerning whether just, in other words, they have Kanye West. I don't know if I put the link to it. Certain type of victim / hyper victim uses words like influencer, leaving out your measure to maintain, leaving out the value of criminal foreign influences, that phrase, let alone / hyper criminal foreign influences, which nature of itself shows us means to draft, superseding to the recorded as valued, drafted laws, language, and functions, tactically delusions raw to black pupils. So they have uses of names where they lie about what they think about the motivations or nature of other people, where they change words and prevent them from being on time, or honestly received. In other words, we shouldn't have to get in debate with people who debate with criminal and seditious natures of positive and negative treatments. Each of the sciences we are shown. So Central Connecticut State University in New Britain increasingly has roles with people at other cities, stacking vertically and horizontal. Newington has Marines and other natures of military that know my name, but I don't know their name. Increasingly involved with people like Casper, named Casper, is involved with people with military, with Hartford Hospital, involved foreign and domestic, medical families, people involved with Wethersfield Police who answer the phones with them, planting evidences on all sides of my house, and all sides of their houses. O'Brien family also with them, with the people with the spots next to the state capitol, People with the spots next to where the Wethersfield police station is now, where it used to be. Increasingly involved with various natures of federal evidences crimes with people from other areas and states and countries on my street. Increasingly people that went out of the way, I don't know at all, that had their names repeated to me. And people that I only know because they were in my presence, because they went out of their way to make a fake exception of knowing me, while locking themselves to roles with predicate acts with facts, various natures of organized crime that our agencies have had roles with, and where they have the legitimate roles with that, they have criminally foreign influence uses of it, but then they pretend it's only illegitimate when we speak. I'll whisper Creek. This is recorded too for their uses of Facebook pages. The Facebook page of Hartford Hospital, the Facebook page of New Britain Superior Court and of Hartford Court. They have predicate acts also grouped with the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and with his co-defendants and their family members, with a whole bunch of people with writing forensics and state police and other agencies. There are CIA involved with names Jensen and a whole bunch of people tied to them. Like a Mike Roberts is also involved, all along with people along Celestine Highway and the Berlin Turnpike, with the intelligence community, foreign and domestic military, people increasingly involved with conjunctions to the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices and corrections offices. Also, people involved with the spots next to Central Connecticut State University and Trinity College who live next to it, not associated with the schools, and or as roles with the intelligence with the schools too. Criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought, involved with people at intercities, with placements at campuses, where and how this breaching method employed. A whole bunch of Cain-enabled nature of debate. For example, but we shouldn't even have to debate, because before this, the Old Testament, for example, just for proof of how the religions too, they have criminally foreign influence readings of religions, because there are applications by that at other locations, like medical locations and interbranch. This is where they pretend to be about virtues, while the Constitution is, and while pretending not to realize the Constitution unabridged is a virtue that is hyper invisible, but still discernible. So we are supposed to not allow media locations, let alone news ones, to lie about what they think are the motivations of other people, even if they have evidence that makes it that they want to use. They're not supposed to force that to courts that are already collusion. See, they force equality of fact, tribute nature. I can't even believe I heard it, but I know I heard it. A Judge Napolitano with the Judging Freedom website, YouTube channel, rather. His YouTube channel, Judging Freedom. He said that he had 400 arraignments his first day as a judge. So that is proof, just because of how much time that takes, that you can't have equality of fact, tribute nature. Many ways. Just per natural impositions. But those natural impositions where we're not supposed to leave out how the breaching method employed them, how it employed those database relationships before the computers. See how readings of statutes too regarding the relativity of what is said over social media, they are also criminally foreign influenced. A bunch of judges, ones with the name Smith, Killian, they have roles with the military, criminally foreign influence too, speaking fake things in records on off Hartford Hospital while tactically delusions wrought, black pupils. Whole Leahy family. There's a Brendan Leahy, I believe it's his father. He non-verbally demonstrated. His father non-verbally demonstrated too. They put a whole with women in their family. I believe his mother might work there too. So, in other words, they put whole fake conversations with me and transcripts into databases. They have a Lombardo family and people on all sides of the schools in town and intercities involved with the same house/S and people tied to them planting predicate acts and wire crime roles on my street with the Wethersfield police, with their houses involved. And it's not personal. They brought this up. Wethersfield Police brought the name Cololo up, involved with them with the principal child defender. And also, and switching names. The latest one is the one named Sullivan. These are also roles with the officer Jerry Miller, involved with all sides of my house planting evidences. Also, people with the name Kerr, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with that. People with the name Brian Silver. People with the name, Rick Cianfaglione. Rick Cianfaglione made confessions to me about a Brendan Leahy's father. And then I came home, and that was in the summer of 1994. Right when I got home, Ray Cololo called me on the phone, asked me if I wanted to buy mushrooms. He's been increasingly attaching me to fake locations, fake ties, fake natures ties. He's trying to set me up for psychedelics on YouTube, dishonestly. All exception nature demonstration, the same thing. They have roles of wire crimes with Hartford Police, Newington Police. They're not legitimately with military, Air Force, Navy, National Guard, associated with schedules. Their roles with State Police, the teachers of them from Central Connecticut State University, their roles with Middletown locations. The spots next to a bank associated with the John Maiano. And Alex Maiano, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, also rolls with him, with natures, with the Connecticut boxing gyms, with judges, prosecutors, their family members, overt criminal enterprises and private ones, foreign and domestic military, planting evidences, keeping things going before courts that are collusions at locations. Blaming America. Why and how countries need resources, you don't leave out how the breaching method tactically denatured the suburbs before our founders were born. You don't pretend not to discern when you speak about success that there's a torture, extortion, slavery method sickly distinctly on the people of New York City. Peer! You don't speak about my behavior, leaving out what came first. I asked you calmly 50,000 times. You got Kanye West speaking about behavior, speaking about the integrity of his mother's position with the English department. If you understood what a predicate was, you would look over and say, what's a predicate act? What's a predicate act with facts, black pupils? They want to speak about revelations. They can't afford to have discerned what the Old Testament says. Only here. This part first is what we're supposed to defend. It comes first. Never even brought up in the nature of debate. Because you have tactically delusions wrought. They have self-eyed roles with sequence shifts, physical delusions, with the convictions and the short words of people of campuses, people of database-tied relationships, further campuses. After it was already sustained, people A through Z roles, individually grouped together, blaming other things, others, or selves for things the breaching method caused, like black and white assigned to communicate other, where how nature is increasingly communicating with it. The breaching method knew that. You don't bring up such a serious subject and leave that out. That's evidence. You don't say these are differences interbranch. They know our names. I don't even know their names. The Black Way, KKK themed, black themed, military police, and their family members, pretending passions in them. All exception made for demonstrations, same thing. They started it with the Black Way, with the fake sides, with the Mike Roberts and the intelligence community involved with him, with a black guy. I don't know his name. Involved with the state judicial branch offices and various probation officers, family members with the intelligence community, planting fake evidences in databases, behavior racketeering, where they do little tricks so they could lie in the future about why and how you reacted or didn't react the way you did. See, a bunch of name callers, so you can call them name. They're entrapping you, humanity. They kept New York City, the real cause of negative value, nature, progressions, acts, and natures, the worst. Certain type of victim / hyper victim, the breaching method knew wouldn't know how to respond back to your name. as fact human nature. Blamed other things, others yourselves, black pupils. You guys are incapable of affording the nature of debate as the Constitution unabridged, as your obligated laws. When I tell you there are more people involved with the police chiefs and agencies and courts with their family members planting evidences on and off the campuses and between them with overt timed rules with other countries and overt criminal enterprises, not legitimately. What they're doing with the acting coaches involved, you also have to discern through recorded / hyper evidentially recorded conscious uses remotely of the departments individually grouped and together at Central Connecticut State University, increasingly involved with predicate acts intercities, hiding lie progressions. A Dean Judd is involved with this. People next to Trinity College too. These are people involved with the border in Canada, even people with the Clinton Correctional Facility, and those two people that were reported to have escaped from there. They're even on Facebook involved with New Britain Superior Court, Hartford Court, with predicate acts with West Hartford locations leading up to the World Trade Center attack, and since also with Wethersfield Police Facebook page. A Joshua Schumacher and his mother have roles with some KKK-themed, black-themed confessions of military demonstrations of roles with them, with identity theft frauds for federal evidence crimes, and with a Mike Pandoff. Increasingly, people on off UConn too, as the ones on off Central Connecticut State University with military, criminally foreign influence, identity theft fraud, slander, fake punks. Then they pretend, oh, it's about education. No, you guys, in other words, you guys are preventing speech intercities because you affect a whole bunch of connected confessions that it's a federal crime to lie about. Rolls of murders, even if they're made up. The reported murder of Greg Kyler and confessions about it were timed collusions with names on off Trinity College and CCSU intercities, as one who have roles with collusions on my street in Wethersfield, before I even lived on Covington Street temporary, before I even lived in New Britain, on off. See where it was, Normandy Heights, and they changed the name of that street. And there's a Target across the street from it, has roles with prosecutors and judges associated with the courts, on off the state judicial branch offices, Connecticut's District Court in New Haven. There's a news place next to it, associated with the FBI Director Luskin, people with the name DeMauro, who also have roles on and off campuses, every campus I went to. They had roles with something like a Ray Reynolds and a Joe DeMauro. I don't even know if Joe DeMauro went to that campus, but I never saw him at that campus. He lives on the street of it, or that goes by the side where it was closed that year after I went to it. But Ray Reynolds has a whole bunch of people involved with, per the people on my street involved with him. There are all kinds of roles with medicine in medical campuses and fire campuses, have more wire crimes. And these are people in natures of identity theft, fraud, slanders. These are people pretending people are liars, oh, it's a liar, but they're not using real premises. And when there's exceptions, they're fighting about debatable things, and they're saying, oh, let's go before courts, because they have rules with the crime method that is recorded, where they get names on all sides of criminal and civil cases, and use them in their sources, and or the intelligent interbranch putting sequence shifts. All sides of the Ninth Circuit Court, right before the World Trade Center attack, had roles with the names next to it and on off the World Trade Center. And since they have roles of predicate acts with Central Connecticut State University, and the intelligence community with East Hartford a whole bunch of different ways. So one of the things they do that they commonly show are uses of location /S, like their roles with the locations next to the news locations, next to Fox Connecticut News. There's people with the name Domain and Mendez, who were involved with the intelligence community, with judges and prosecutors, FBI, and other police forms, state police, people with forensics locations, people involved with child offenders, leaders of kids, including sexual and medical. Now they're in interreligious spots. The domains involved with some confessions of it and demonstrations of it being how it's Jewish themed. Also, there are people with the name Zeno. Jack Zeno was one of the ones of planting evidences with Whiting Forensics and WTNH. WTNH is next to the FBI in New Haven, increasingly involved with wire crime action methods of Wethersfield police. Chiefs, too, retired ones, with the same house /S, also wire crimes themselves, not just the Wethersfield police phones. These are the sources of your leaders. These are the sources of them with fake sides and exceptions. These are the Democrats and the value of democratic value or republic or whose name is used. It's a difference for a president telling some advisors, picking advisors and telling them to stick up for him, and just blind uses of a name, or let's just only say positive. In other words, you guys can't defend yourselves. In other words, you're not trying to help. You're not hurting properly when both sides and where and how both sides have criminal and serious suspect human nature, quality aspects and natures in the way too of black pupil. Of all the answers we have already, you don't leave out what they're doing still and have done still. They have people in with criminally foreign influence federal evidence as crime methods as the sources of the sources too. On Church Street in Old Wethersfield, on and off Webb House, on and off the conversations involved with changing the name of that and the fake motivations planting, because they have foreign bodies involved with those names. Overt criminal enterprises, private ones, hiding behind victims to lie about the motivations when they hear other people use their names, like Sandy Hook. No one wants little kid shop. No one wants anyone to hide any roles with that too, including the victims, back advocates, and courts judges involved with that. And Alex Jones as a shell game. In other words, they're offensively with natures in the way of mandated law. I asked on social media, maybe that's too many people to even see it. But get them on paper. There are people with the name O'Brien and Cololo, further involved with wire crimes and child abuses, and medical offenders with kids at Sandy Hook involved with it, including ones with the courts involved. Sandy Hook has a prison there too, involved with medical corruption, physical delusions. I'm not even a doctor. I'm going to delineate their delusions from their criminally foreign influence, fact, human nature, quality, aspect, nature, souls, and motivations narratives, because they're screening a breaching method. So how and why big countries need resources like Russia and America and China? Because before our founders were born, and while they were born, and since they died, they only began to do damage control. Everyone was fact, human nature, enslaved. That's what James Madison communicated for us to communicate for himself. He also communicated for us to communicate about how and why there's a difference between what he said and what he communicated. And there are a whole bunch of lie progressions for the legitimate reasons, obviously, because they're, in other words, why they have shared roles together here. In other words, Russians and Americans have been here and there, shared, entertained. Before in other words, they never got out the entrenched breaching method, the same one against theirs. That's why they have suits and ties, counters in suburbs, self-valued, even though they're involved with the torture, extortion, and slavery method against our founders. The people who had roles with the Patriot Act language, they have roles with predicate acts, with fax methods, with the news networks, and with Rocky Hill Public Access Television and with Wethersfield Public Access Television. with Russians involved with fire departments and corners of streets, used criminally foreign influence through time and then again. There are proofs that there's a white table on the street of the principal child defender recently, in that corner there has something to do with with them trying to bring more people in, like the people on that street in the streets next to the schools, where and how they spread lies about people, where they use the right to lie, where they don't have the right to lie. So WFSB has me in fake conversations with themselves and with others about the World Trade Center attack. These are their sources speaking about elections and pretending it's about election crimes. Through elections, they have roles every year, planting more things. They have abuse methods, self-value of the kids, of leaders of the kids, per the method they have on all sides of every house and next to that, recorded. As their roles with all these different countries, and with their trade agreements that contain natures of industry that are criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, well, like with psychiatry. And so all kinds of, they're stealing hundreds and thousands of dollars a day while tactically delusions raw at Hartford Hospital under the guise of healthcare and under the guise of being legitimate lawyers, while they're not even legitimate doctors. They're putting fake mental health. They're calling that healthcare. They're stealing from actual doctors. And they're shared with foreign countries. I believe he looked as if Pakistan, because Pakistan, one kid switched his name from Pakistan or India, who sought me out repeatedly, record, confess, demonstrate, confirm, collusions with people with name Dylan, and people I don't know, like tied to and as one's named Abate, and associated with flower companies and other countries where they have trade agreements, even down to that, and where they put the placements of it all along Route 3. There are proofs that they have biological places. And see, they have uses of doctors' names, like Dr. Fauci, used to measure and maintain collusion /S with predicate acts with facts with difference use. So we have lawyers that are recorded involved with fact-driven nature that they can't defend, with facts and sequence shift self-value. Every year leading up to the World Trade Center attack, in that context and since, the intelligence community had themselves recorded discrediting legitimate information and lying about how and why. See, when people blame things on money, you can't leave that out. In other words, these are people who have roles with a Larry Martin, with Russians, and with people from Afghanistan, on and off the Wethersfield High School, and other campuses in Wethersfield through time, involved with planting evidences on and off the sides of Trinity College with overt criminal enterprises like Los Solitos, and people associated with body dumping spots like the body dumping spot of Billy Grasso, per confessions that are against the law to confess, especially where and how. It also was as threats. There are names on off the state, or conjunctions to the state, judicial branch offices in the houses next to it, like with the name Fianza. And they recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed collusions with names on off Two-Rod Highway. Also with the body dumping spot of Billy Grasso, planting evidences with that, roles with agencies that are South Saviello, and mayors, intelligence community associated with South Saviello. He demonstrated, they said he was involved with them, with natures of identity theft, fraud, slanders in the form of federal evidences, crimes, roles, and child abuses roles. He demonstrated that was true. He was in my 4th grade class. And then people in my 5th and 6th grade class recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Collusion with people who were in my 2nd and 3rd grade class, with men and women who spied on me when I was in 1st grade, and used truths for lies and sequence shifts and make fake ties and natures of ties to me from other with kids from other classrooms, with mayors retired, mayors before I was born, and a mayor at the time, a Mayor Gold and his family and people tied to him are increasingly involved with child offenders before they get caught, various natures of federal criminals. These are people involved with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and Russians with fire departments with Americans, and with the news locations, and their neighbors, their teachers. There are a bunch of teachers of Ray Collusion who are also involved with criminally foreign influence predicate acts on off Trinity College and CCSU, even though I've never seen them on those campuses. One time he recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed with others. Roles with federal evidence as crimes, acting for others people to pretend to record things. But you may just put fake things in there anyway. That's not even what really happened. That's recorded too. So in other words, there are all kind of excuses for the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures at New York City, at suburbs, let alone New York City. You have to follow mandated law for your people. Follow mandated law, please, for Connecticut Interbranch and news locations. WFSB and Fox Connecticut News has roles with federal evidence as crimes, also has collusions with untimely deaths, people that fell from the building next to them, involved with the policing of those buildings, criminally foreign influence with child offenders. Follow mandated law so it doesn't get worse. Here, just fix the fake conversations with me. Follow mandated law. Get the interbranch on paper, one name and sequence. Let's go. Get down.